Hello and welcome back to Soul Search Sunday with Johnny Tiger. On Sunday, yeah, I said Sunday already, didn't I? On Sunday, June 4th, 2023. Um, so just a quick update of what's been happening this week. This weekend's actually been very quiet and laid back, which is good. The last weekend was just a mad dash of activities and moving around and stuff like that. So it is good to have one relaxing weekend where you kind of can sit back and spend time with people you love. Yeah, in my case, I spent time with a beautiful, intelligent girlfriend on the phone and took my boys out in the backyard so they could enjoy some sunshine. Yeah, it's nice. Even able to get in a couple of power naps both yesterday and the day before, which is a luxury that sometimes I'm not privy to. And today I finally sat down and worked on a piece of new artwork in the afternoon. Oh, speaking of art, yes, there was one minor setback this week that I found out the Outsider Art Festival had uh, well, I won't say rejected, but it's not really rejected. It's more like I did not get selected for the art festival, and this is bad. Well, I mean, it's not super horribly bad, but it's a little bit sad because I was really counting on this festival this year to showcase a large quantity of my artwork. Um, so hopefully we'll get in next year. You know, the strange part of not getting selected by this one, uh, in the email that they sent me, they actually said that the fact that people were not selected got nothing to do with the merit of their artwork or their application form. Because apparently, in the end, all they did was they put everybody's name in a hat and drew like a lottery style. Whoever got their name drawn would be in the festival. That just doesn't sound very professional to me, guys, but come on. Uh, but I guess, if that's the way you got to do things, I guess that's the way you do things. But yeah, it was surprising that one of my goals, one of my projects for this year was just dashed because my name didn't get drawn out of the hat. Aggravating, but hey, so far since I started this art venture since earlier this year, actually, I mean, it really started November last year, but ever since I've started this art venture, it has been very smooth sailing. I have been so fortunate to sell some artwork, to get some great feedback, and made some great connections, and be in a couple of art shows so far. So I guess a setback or two is to be expected, so I shouldn't feel too bad about that. Anyway, um, speaking of feeling bad and having goals and projects and stuff like that, it is all relevant, tied into what we're going to be talking about today. Because today I'm going to give you a little, I can't even call it a roadmap, but a little nudge in the right direction when it comes to achieving success in your workplace, in your project, in things that you do. This is going to primarily apply to job hunting, job searching, and do a good job at your workplace. But if you apply what we talk about today to your daily life and to other projects that you're trying to do, uh, even to your life philosophy, I imagine this will definitely benefit you because, hey, it really benefited me to figure this out. And today I want to share that with you. So, the topic for today is how to handle your strengths and your weaknesses. Strengths and weaknesses is all subjective, of course. What may be your strength today may not be your strength tomorrow. What's your weakness today may not be a weakness next year. But I think when it comes to strengths and weaknesses, a lot of people have this simplistic view on, well, if you want to be successful, then you minimize your weakness and you maximize your strength. That's it. Not so easy. Life is ever interesting and full of pitfalls and stumbling blocks, and this is one of those things that if you simplify it too much, if you just say, okay, well, I'm just going to minimize my weakness and maximize my strengths all the time, and this is all I have to do, you may be very surprised that things not working out for you, and sometimes life will throw you a curveball. Because the true uh, path to success really is to achieve balance and be flexible. Okay? If you take nothing away, if you take nothing else away from today's episode, then remember balance and flexibility. These are the two attributes that you will need to really be able to make use of your weakness. And yes, I did say make use of your weakness and also make use of your strengths. Quite often, when we look at someone who, even though they got the skills, even though they got the drive, they fail at something, and it might be luck, right? Luck play a big part in everything we do. But quite often, even when luck is not considered, we can see a person failing what they're trying to do. We can see a person failing at their job or their project or their relationship because of one of two things. One is they are overly focused, overly sensitive about their weakness. And two is they value their strengths too much. And we are going to uh, talk about this one at a time. First, let's talk about people who are too sensitive or too focused on their weaknesses. When we talk about weaknesses, we're going to quite often come across two kinds of people that going to be having issue with either overly focusing on their weakness or overly being overly sensitive about their weakness. Uh, Let me give you an example of someone who is overly focused on their weakness. My brother. My brother has spent his entire life trying to emulate our father. Uh, my father, for those of you that might have missed the past episode, and because I definitely mentioned this before, my father was a very successful man. When he was 30, 40 years old, he was already a multi-millionaire. Now, what happened afterward is not relevant to our episode today because he definitely went downhill really, really quick. But in his prime, my father was a very successful man. He's the kind of guy that got things done. That whatever he wanted, he would get. Um, and my older brother has spent his whole life trying to emulate that. However, even when we were teenager, I told him, I said, "Hey, man, why don't you cut that out? Because this is just you're not good at it. You're not that. You will never be like that. Okay? And that's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that because I am not that either. I'm not like that either. Just do what you're good at because you are clearly sucking at trying to be that. But now my brother is in his mid 40s. Well, I'm 41, so he's 42, so I guess early 40. And he's still trying to emulate our father. His whole life has been thrown away trying to be something that he can never be because he doesn't have the ruthlessness, he doesn't have the meanness, he doesn't have the fearlessness, he doesn't have the drive that my father had in his prime, but for his whole life he wanted to be that. So this is uh, one example, and I'm sure you guys can think of many, many, many examples in your lifetime of people you know that they're clearly doing something they're not very good at, but they refuse to give up because they feel that if they give up, they're going to be nobody, and they hold on to that piece of driftwood, and that's just floating in the middle of the ocean, and you're standing here with your life raft and you're saying, hey man, come over here, let go of that piece of crap wood and swim over here and you'll be safe. But these people, they're so stubborn, they're so fearful, they're so desperate, they rather cling on to keep at it. They feel that they just keep at it, they will uh, get things done. And I know this is what a lot of our parents told us when we were children. If you just keep at it, you will succeed. I'm sorry to break it to you guys if you still have that illusion in your mind. Sometimes, yes. Most times, no. Right? Most times, even if you keep at it, if you are not good at it, you're not good at it. If you're just not meant for it, you're not meant for it. It doesn't matter how hard you keep at it, you're just not going to make it. Right? That's to be like if I go out there and trying to learn how to drive a car, me being totally blind, right? Let's say I go out there and try to learn how to drive a car and work at it every day. Would I be allowed to drive a car in 20 years? Probably not. Until they create, they allow self-driving vehicles on the street and I can afford one, then I don't need to learn how to drive a car. But no matter how hard I work at piloting an airplane, driving a car, or things like that, I'm just not going to make it. It's not going to happen. So same thing in a lot of weaknesses that people perceive as that's something that they need to do, they need to hold on to. Sometimes there's no shame in admitting, okay, this is a bad job. I'm clearly not good at this. It's time to do something else. So this is just how crazy it can be. Okay, how devastating it can be for your success, for your road to success, if you cling onto your weakness and refuse to just let it go. Uh, so this is someone who is stubbornly focusing on their weakness. Now let's talk about people who are overly sensitive about their weakness. This I can give you an example using myself. For my earlier days, being a blind person, being a Chinese or Taiwanese immigrant, being a person with multiple disability, being a person who come from a broken family, I had a lot of hang-ups. I had a big chip on my shoulder, especially around my blindness. Uh, so this resulted in me quite often wasting a lot of time trying to prove myself to people. Me wasting a lot of time being angry, being sad, feeling I was prejudiced against. If someone said I couldn't do this because I was blind, I would kill myself trying to prove to them that I could do it, even though I was blind. Uh, if someone offered me a ride, rather than thanking them, I would say, no, just because I'm blind doesn't mean I can't take the bus. I'd rather take the bus. I don't want to take charity. It wasn't until one day when my father said to me one of the few things that my father ever said to me that became a life lesson that totally changed my life, totally changed how I approach life. My father said to me, he said, look, no matter you like it or not, no matter if people point it out or not, you are blind. Your eyes don't work. You can't see shit. Okay? That's it. Deal with it. You have two choices. You either let it become your weakness as you are now, because so much of what you do, so much energy you're wasting is trying to prove that you're not blind or blindness that is not a problem. But it is a problem. It clearly is a problem when you're trying so hard to prove it otherwise. So you can continue letting it hamper you, let it be your weakness, or you can learn to use it. You can learn to make use of it, let it become your strength. I couldn't understand him at the time. I said, "What do you mean? Let it become my strength?" He said, "Well, when people offer you a ride, why do they offer you a ride?" I said, "Well, because they feel sorry for me. I don't want them to feel sorry for me. I'm blind. I'm not crippled. I can still walk, take the bus." And my dad said, "See, then you take you 2 hours to take the bus to go to work, and then by the time you get to work, your production, your work energy is nowhere as good as other people who only took them 5 minutes to drive there. If you took the ride, if you just say thank you, yes, I'm blind, thank you so much, this makes so much easier for me. By the way, can you drive me more often? This is so awesome. Then you can get to work as the same as other people and be refreshed and have a lot of energy when you get to work, right? You have more time, you spend less time trying to wait for buses, and you have more time to actually get work done. That opened my, it turned my world upside down, right? And it opened my eyes. And obviously, you know, after all these years of trying to prove that blindness wasn't a problem, I wasn't going to change my way immediately on the dime. It, take a bit of time to adjust to this new philosophy, but bit by bit, I came to realize my father was right. I am going to be blind. Being blind does suck. Being blind has a lot of problems. And rather than trying to pretend there's no problem, I should embrace the fact that there are problems and find a way to work around these and try to be as productive and as happy as I can be, rather than spend my life trying to prove to people that I'm not blind or I'm blind, so what? It's not a problem. I'm perfectly fine. Yeah, no, the heck was that? So in my younger years, I spent so much time feeling overly sensitive about my greatest weakness, which was my blindness. I refused to admit that being blind was a problem. I refused to even think about that it was a weakness. If you told me in my 20s that being blind is your weakness, I would have gotten really angry at you. But now, you tell me, Johnny, it's too bad you're blind because that is like the only flaw or only weakness in your person. I say, you know what? I agree that that is the, you know, uh, I've been trying so hard to overcome that, and I'm appreciate you helping me all this time and all that you've done for me, and you know, what when you pick me up and drive me around, or when you help me get grocery or stuff like that, you help me so much. I'm really grateful. No, so I can actually use my blindness. I'm not saying to play the blind card and manipulate people into doing things for you, but I'm perfectly fine admitting, hey, it is very inconvenient being blind, and you are so great for helping me. I have no problem admitting that. So this is uh, one example of someone, me in this case, that just was overly sensitive. So as you can see, when you focus too much on your weakness, you miss out on opportunity. You focus so much on clinging on that piece of driftwood, you miss the boat, right? And when you are too sensitive about your weakness, then you're defensive. You're always defensive. You're always trying to prove that it's not a weakness. And again, in the end, you end up wasting a lot of time, wasting a lot of energy. So this is why, either way, focusing too much on your weakness or uh, uh, being too sensitive about it can really hamper you in life. Now, let us talk about strengths, because strengths can be just as detrimental if mishandled. When it comes to strengths, there's again two types of people that quite often get hampered by their strengths and have their project or their work effectiveness ruined because of how they handle strengths. The first type are people who are too prideful about their strengths, they're too proud about their strengths. This is very detrimental. I can direct you back to the episode we talked about the horse, the thousand mile horse, 千里马 and 伯乐, the story of the horse who was looking for a worthy master. But I can even give you a real life example, and you can probably think up tons of people in your own life that have uh, fallen down because of the same thing. My ex-girlfriend, she spent the entire time we were together for 18 years. For 18 years, she tried to look for work. For 18 years, she couldn't find work. Uh, it's because she got a certificate. She was a certified legal secretary. Uh, in case you don't know what legal secretary do, they are the people in the courtroom typing down everything. So she went to college, got her degree, and was a legal secretary. Very, very smart, very good at research, very good at typing, and all that stuff. So you would think, okay, if you have all that training, why is it so hard to find work? Because for 18 years, she refused to take any other job. It, she was so proud that she was a certified legal secretary that she refused to take jobs as a regular secretary. She refused to take job as an accountant or anything else. Like she got her uh, mind wrapped around I am certified, I went to school for this, and I'm going to do this and nothing else. And that was her downfall. And as far as I know, even today, she still can't find work because she absolutely refused to take anything else until someone is willing to hire her to be a legal secretary, which is very difficult. The longer you go without work, the harder it is to find work. If you guys didn't know this already, let me throw this in as a little bonus. Guys, if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for work, the moment your employer see your resume and see that you haven't been doing anything for 10 years, bye bye. You might as well just go out the door. Like it's very hard to find work. Now, if on your resume you can still show that yes, you haven't worked for 10 years, but there are volunteerism and there are other organizations and charities that you're involved in, and you've done this, and that, that's a little bit better. It's still not ideal, but uh, the moment that your employer see that you haven't been working for X amount of years, that's pretty much it. Doesn't matter what kind of certificate or what kind of qualification you have, they are not going to feel very secure with hiring you because most employers going to think, well, gee, like if you are certified and you got all this thing going for you, all this good quality, why is it that no one hired you for 8 years? Obviously, there's something wrong with you. So yes, the longer you go without work, the harder it will be for you to find work. So don't get hung up on your pride. Don't just say, okay, I'm a trained sumo wrestler, so I'm just going to be a sumo wrestler. I'm not going to do anything else until someone hire me to be the represent Canada to be the sumo wrestler. I'm trained in the English literature. So I'm going to do nothing else but until someone give me an award for poetry. No, you can't do that. Okay, so you, if you get too hung up on feeling prideful about your strengths, your certificate, what you are trained to do, you are going to get yourself into a dead end where you become absolutely not marketable in the end. So you got to really watch out for that. The second situation where people can get really screwed up by their strengths are people who feel too secure in their strengths. The problem with people who become too secure in their strength is often that they start to forget about their weaknesses or the potential for disaster. They get really short-sighted, right? Uh, just imagine a person who is the best runner in the world. He wins, or she wins every tournament, Olympic, whatever, gold medal, every single time. No one in the world runs faster. So this person becomes so secure in their ability to run, to perform, to win medal, to get award, to get grants, and stuff like that, to get endorsement money and stuff like that. This person refuses to learn to do anything else, and then suddenly one day this person get hit by a car and loses the use of their legs. Then yeah, right there you can already see this person would be in really deep trouble because now he or she has to struggle with the depression of losing the one strength they always counted on. And on top of that, they they don't know how to do anything else because they've relied on that strength their whole life. This, if this is a little bit too obscure, I can give you my again a true example, a true life example from my own life. Okay, and this is something that I honestly uh, feel a little bit ashamed about, struggle with this, um, but I'm willing to uh, use this as an example to make it a little bit more realistic than the best runner in the world losing their legs. Um, for most of my adult life, I went without a credit card. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. I'm not even joking. For most of my adult life, at least 20 years uh, of my adult life, I survived without needing a credit card. Uh, and I was proud, I was damn proud of it. Uh, I viewed it as one of my greatest strengths to be able to uh, balance my finance so well that I never needed to borrow anything. Uh, um, so I never felt that there's anything wrong with it. I was proud of the fact I didn't have a credit card. I was happy that didn't have a credit card. I felt that I kind of looked down upon people who had credit card. Oh, what's wrong with you guys? You can't balance your finance. I got enough. I only spend what I make, and that's been good enough for me. I was damn proud of myself. Um, I viewed this as my strength, is to be able to manage my finance. However, what happened then is this pride, this feeling secure in my own finance and ability to always survive on very little money, made me blind. Yeah, made me more blind to the fact that I had no safety net. Right? That is one of the biggest weakness of being poverty stricken, being disabled, is you have no safety net. So this actually ended up coming back and bit me on the behind during COVID. When COVID happened and I couldn't work, I couldn't go to work, and my income was massively impacted. In fact, my income is still massively impacted even after the pandemic restriction. I'm nowhere near back to my full strength at this point. Um, when COVID happened, I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. And then something else happened that really hammered home that what I perceived as my strength, as not having a credit card and not needing a safety net, was misplaced, was me feeling foolishly secure about what I thought was my strength. When Tiger got sick and almost died, and the vet told me that I needed $9,000 to save his life, my world dropped out from under me because I suddenly felt so useless that I couldn't save him because I didn't have a credit card. I didn't have that safety net. At that moment, I learned that, yeah, what I thought as my strength all these years actually almost cost my cat's life. I was lucky that I had a beautiful girlfriend who helped me out, a lot of good friends who pulled together, and we managed to pull Tiger through in the end. But that scared me so much that I will never, never go without at least a credit card to be my safety net ever again. So this is a very real life example of someone, me, again, in this case, feeling overly secure in my financial ability to balance my finance and live on the edge, live dangerously, and ended up almost having to pay the consequence of that. So when you have weaknesses, don't get hung up on it. Don't focus too much on making changing that weakness because that will waste a lot of energy. And don't get overly sensitive about the weakness because again that will waste a lot of time and energy and unnecessarily. And when you know what your strengths are, don't have misplaced pride in your strength and don't feel too secure. Because, again, let me say this one more time. What may be your strength today may suddenly turn into your biggest weakness tomorrow.